curse of the werewolf that was laid on a baby who grew into a man possessed by a monster. To this Spanish town, the night brought drinking and dancing, music and girls, and the moon. The full moon that turned an innocent man into a savage beast. The curse of the werewolf, a man possessed by a desperate need for love, who found in Christina all the passionate sincerity of youth.
Christina, do you love me? Will you marry me, Christina? You say you love me, will you marry me?
Yes. Yes, I will.
Help me! Get away! Get away! Get away! No!
Hello, welcome to Movie Umbers. My name is Bob Shim.
My name is Angela.
This sounds your maybe dogs, and it's Halloween Hump Fest, and it is the first week of it. By now, you should have gotten a George Romero 6-pack of his zombie movies. That's what kicked it off. And just like last year, we're making some room for the Hammer horror because it's a lot of fun. And last year, our Hammer horror focused on Christopher Lee's Dracula, mostly. And Christopher Lee was in every movie except one. Going to be like that this year, too, where we are going to be visiting an actor who is in all the Hammer horror movies we're discussing, except one. And that's a man by the name of Oliver Reed. The hunky himbo. He was a big party guy. He was known for being a lush. He got it in.
So many of them were.
He got it in a lot in his day. His final performance, if you can remember this, was the gladiator trainer in Gladiator. He was the old man who was training the gladiators.
Wow.
In the Ridley Scott classic.
Yeah.
And that was his last role before he had passed away. But yeah, Oliver Reed, a notorious British actor and a bit of a hunk. I'm comfortable enough in my manhood to say that he's pretty hunky, even when he turns into a werewolf. This is a very sad story.
This is an extremely sad story. So
what's funny is that the picture above your head here on the screen is just a promotional picture.
Yeah, that didn't happen.
Yeah, because that's his mother he's carrying on his shoulders, at least the character in the movie, and she dies giving birth to him. We're talking about The Curse of the Werewolf from 1961. Directed by infamous Hammer horror director Terrence Fisher. Last year we discussed one of my favorite Hammer horror movies, Dracula, Prince of Darkness. He directed that and a couple more we discussed last year. Written by John Elder, based on a novel by Guy Indore, starring Oliver Reed, Clifford Evans, Yvonne Roman, Catherine Feller, and more. Cinematography by Arthur Grant. Yes, this is an adaptation of a French novel, but they had made all this set to star in some Spanish setting, and the British Film Board nixed that movie for whatever reason. It was called The Rape of whatever town. You know, the British Film Board, not as stringent as the Hays Code, but apparently they still had some leverage. So they canceled that movie, and instead of getting rid of all the sets, they're like, we can use all this stuff, and we could just make this French story Spanish. So they Spaniardized the whole story for The Curse of the Werewolf.
Including extras,
Yeah.
costumes, music.
Names changed.
But not lead actor accents.
There are English actors being vaguely Spaniard.
Oh, they sounded straight up British.
Well, they are British.
There was no attempt at.
Yeah, it's always up and down on these Hammer horror movies, right?
Yeah, totally. This is one of the saddest.
This is our first of 3 werewolf movies we're discussing. The Universal Monster movies, we actually pre-recorded. So the Wolfman, which is going to be in the last week of the month, we did first. But now we're getting to this one, the first that you will see this month of a werewolf movie. And they're all tragic as fuck. And werewolf stories are just about intense tragedy.
They really are. But this one is maybe the precious of werewolf movies.
The precious of werewolf movies.
Because, can I just lay out the bad stuff? So this movie begins with this really rich Marquis getting married, and this beggar comes in. He is asking for money or food, and they get him really drunk and make him dance and then put him in the dungeon and forget about him for decades.
This Marquis is reveling in his evilness. The actor here, he's kind of a lot of fun to look at.
He is eating the stone walls.
Don't tease him.
Why not, my dear?
Well, he's a man, not an animal.
Oh, is he? Yes, I suppose he is. Would you like to have him, my dear?
Yeah.
He is truly
and the set
making
design,
the most of it.
and the set designs and everything
Gorgeous.
look good. Yeah.
The sets look really good.
It's a nice movie to look at.
Yeah. And so they forget about him in the dungeon. The man that takes care of the prisoners in the dungeon has a daughter. She does not speak. She has grown up going down into the dungeon to feed this man with her father, to the point where she actually hands him the food and he seems friendly to her. She does not speak. She's mute, has been her whole life. So there's not any relationship in that way between them. Years and years go by. Her father dies. She's a grown-up woman with boobs. And the Marquis wants to fuck her.
And he's like super old and gross.
He looks like a freaking zombie. He's got things on his face. It's weird. His skin is gray.
The aging makeup in these Hammer horror movies, it just makes them look sick.
Yeah, he looked really sick. And he also wore one of those Ebenezer Scrooge head wraps the whole time, which
That's how
did
you know
not
he's
help.
evil.
He wants to fuck her. She does not accept his advances, so he has her thrown in the dungeon to learn her lesson. Well, they throw her in with this man who's been treated like an animal forever. You notice he's got hair all over his arms. Don't know why.
Yeah, very hairy.
He rapes her.
Yeah, fucked up.
So she's a virgin, raped by this madman. He dies. She's taken to the Marquis that next day, and she stabs him to death.
Yeah.
And runs away and lives in the forest for months and months, is found by this very kind man.
Yeah, Don Alfredo Corledo, who's also narrating the movie.
Who has a lovely woman who is his maid, but really they have a very friendly relationship. They talk very frankly with each other. He respects her a lot. And he finds this woman face down in the river. Was she trying to kill herself? Probably. Because guess what? She's pregnant.
Yeah.
And so he takes her home. They nurse her to health, but she can't speak. The woman is very loving towards her, but starts getting very scared because the baby's coming soon. And guess what? If a baby is born on Christmas Day, it is evil. Because no baby should be born on Christmas Day except Christ.
Yeah.
So she even said that this is what's crazy. This does go into they didn't have some of the same lore and superstitions as other werewolf movies, but in this case, she said the village that she came from, women were so scared of having a baby at Christmas that they wouldn't let men touch them in March and April. She was praying for this baby to be premature or to just not be born when it was supposed to and just stay in longer and bake extra. So that didn't happen. On Christmas night, she's going into labor. They have another woman there doing all kinds of spells over her or whatever. She's like smudging her and saying all these things that we don't know what she's saying.
Gypsy shit or
Gypsy
something.
stuff. And she has the baby.
And dies.
She sees the baby for 1 second and dies. Now, I wanted this little baby to come out all hairy, but it didn't. So essentially, this is the perfect storm of innocent virgin raped by an imprisoned madman, killed someone on the night she got pregnant.
This is the definition of a perfect storm.
She is pregnant by this man and has the baby on Christmas Eve. So anyway, this baby's doomed.
Yeah, even though he's being treated very nicely, and this guy has gone out of his way to take him in like his own child. And this kid, as he's growing...
He's about 10 years old.
Like, the village is actually very nice to this child.
And he calls them aunt and uncle.
Yeah, and, well, some things keep happening, like some sheep keep getting eaten. And this guy sees something, the guy who's hurting. Well, it's like a guy who's supposed to be protecting his sheep. He's getting paid to do so. So everyone's like, these sheep keep dying and you're sucking at your job. So he sees something and he takes a shot, but it gets away. And then the little boy is back in his bed and he's got like a gunshot wound that needs to be treated. His uncle is starting to put things together here.
The best part to me is that they did not at any point of this movie linger on the we're trying to figure it out part. He went to the priest and the priest immediately said, "Oh, your boy's a werewolf."
Yeah.
So what you have to do is love him unconditionally.
The way his mother did.
The way his mother would have. But yeah, he doesn't have a mother's love to save him from this. So you have to replace that parental love. And then someday if he meets a woman who loves him as much as he loves her, he will be okay.
Yeah, the love of his aunt. Like, they discover the boy, they watch him one night, and they put bars on the windows, and you see the boy get up, and he goes to the window, and he's got fangs. I wanted to see a little werewolf boy. But he's got fangs, and they calm him, and it's the love of the aunt and the uncle that sedates him. And it seems like he's free of his curse for a while, and then we get to grown-ass, hunky Oliver Reed.
Just real quick. That kid, that scene in that bed with the uncle where he's trying to say,
"I was in bed all night, Uncle."
Oh, Leon, you promised to tell me the truth.
I am telling the truth.
Then how did you get hurt?
I don't know, Uncle.
Well, you couldn't have been hurt like that in bed.
I know I was in bed, Uncle, because I woke up in the night. I had a bad dream, woke up. But then I went to sleep again.
And what did you dream?
I don't really remember, Uncle. Not very clearly, but it was like other nights.
I don't remember what I did last night. Like, he's very like little Oliver Twist, like sweetie cutie, and he does a really good job. I love that child.
Yeah, it's very cute. But yeah, despite all the love this guy is getting, he's doomed, right? So he gets a little older, time moves on, and he's got the straight hots for Christina Fernando is played by Catherine Feller.
He's never left home until right now, but he wants to go out on his own. So he goes to work at a place where you bottle wine. He works with this other guy who's a sweetheart.
He's got this guy he's very boisterous, got that Charles Lofton energy.
He's like a baby Charles Lofton.
Yeah.
And yeah, he falls in love with this girl, and he's not there for a very long time.
This girl is being courted by another man, but she's fallen in love with
She's basically in an arranged situation, which really sucks.
I think it's cool, but we're just different. I like forced marriages.
Okay. So, so one night they're going to get paid. So he's only worked there for like a week, and he and the girl are already in love, and they're going to get paid. So his buddy says, "Let's go out dancing." So he takes him to a brothel, and
the hoes are all over him. There's women just in the background just staring at him.
If you haven't seen this, but if you know this reference, he looks like a brown-haired Rocky from Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh, I guess so, yeah.
He's that same, like, super muscly. He's got, like, that really, like, that haircut even.
He's definitely seems like a pretty buff dude.
Yeah.
Like the tall, dark, handsome type. And this lady... He's having a real hard time, but it's not dissuading this lady who brings him up to her room. And yeah, he likes this other girl, but she's still technically a girlfriend of the other guy. So he's free, even though he does love someone else. But so like, why not? But he turns and we don't see it full on, but we see a hairy hand just grab this woman's throat and just kill her. Like, he's a good guy, a sweet guy, but has zero control. Like, actual wolves are probably easier to tame than this Wolfman.
This is a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
Pretty much.
Flip, yeah.
And it's kind of, I like this, the styles of the Hammer horror. I mean, you can't help but contrast them to the Universal movies, the originals, right? And the originals are the ones that really popped off, that made all those guys, your Bela Lugosi's, your Boris Karloff's, like superstars, right? But after those initial runs, it seemed like a lot of it became a parody of itself, where they're having them all team up. They're switching the costumes around between the actors. But the Hammer horror stuff is more sultry, right? It's a little more vivid. And it seems like even outside of like there's some really bad Hammer horror stuff, but it seems like they have more of a lasting power than some of the Universal monsters had in their day. I mean, even all those weird sequels and team-ups and Abbott and Costello, they made their money. But Hammer horror had the style of it. It was so distinct. Like, you know, the Universal monsters, and Universal did do the international distribution for Hammer. Like in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, you know, Universal monsters reigned. And then Hammer came along in the late 50s, 60s, and the 70s and presented a whole new style on those classic creatures. Like a whole new era for a new generation. And that's why, you know, people look fondly upon Christopher Lee as an essential Dracula. And these movies are also syndicated and showed on TV, the Universal and the Hammer, like throughout the 60s, 70s, and 80s as well. So it was just like a perfect timing to keeping the ideas and the lore of these characters alive over a long period of time. But yeah, this poor guy, he turns into a werewolf, and he's just a serial killer, basically.
He kills his friend as well.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And then goes home to his parents. And when he was little, like you said, they had put bars on the windows. Well, he had busted in through the bars to get to his old bedroom. And they found him naked, sweating in his bed, saying, please help me, please help me. And they knew immediately what had happened. They went and got the priest. The priest knew too. And he was begging to lock him up, chain him up, do something. But they suspected him for murder and put him in jail. And he truly was like, you cannot leave me in here with another man. These bars will not hold me. Because at this point, he knows. Now, when they told him, that scene is good too, because he truly is fucked up about it, which you would be.
Yeah.
This movie has a lot more depth in it than I expected it to.
Yeah.
These characters are really dealing with this stuff, and they even told him, we didn't tell you because we didn't want to burden you with that knowledge. We were hoping we could just get you through this.
The original Wolfman, which will pop up at the end of the month, Lon Chaney did display some nice bit of emotional layers because of his own guilt. But this one feels way more intense.
One important thing to note is that this is a full moon werewolf.
Yeah.
So the moon is out. There is one evening where the woman comes to see him, and he can feel that something's starting to happen. He tries to get her to leave, but she won't go. He becomes unglued, and he's like sweaty and frantic. It's as though he's having bad dreams, but she stays with him all night. And he does not turn because she's the one. She's the woman who can save him.
She comes down while he's while he's feeling, and he's screaming like,
Leon! Get away! Get away! Get away! No! Get away!
So he turns into a wolf later and rips the fucking bar doors off with his bare hands and slams it onto the guard. And then it's this end scene where he's climbing up and down. It's like parkour. He's werewolf parkour. He's up and down buildings. Everyone sees him now. Everyone sees that there's a fucking werewolf running around town. And it's kind of long and drawn out, like they're throwing flaming torches that are catching hay bales on fire. For some reason, the hay bales are on top of a tower, and then he throws the hay. Like, why are hay bales on top of the tower? I don't know. But he throws it down, like, so he's throwing flaming balls back at him, and he's just climbing and getting back up and climbing until his father goes up onto a tower that he climbs on, or his uncle rather, his adopted father, and it's very sad. He's got a silver bullet that the hunter's been keeping.
Pepe the Watchman has a silver bullet. Get it and use it.
Because The hunter's been suspecting that there's a werewolf, and he takes that silver bullet, and he has to shoot what is essentially his own son. And then he dies. Like, this good guy is just an uncontrollable monster because his mother, he's a rape baby.
Yeah.
Like, this guy had no control over his life whatsoever.
The
Super
time
sad.
of year he was conceived, the time of year he was born, his conception itself, it's all
Out of his hands.
Yeah. And he was a good guy. And the second he understood, he even told his dad, if they're not going to put me in chains or let me be with that woman, you're going to have to kill me.
Yeah.
They even went to the governor or whoever's in charge to plead with them to take extra precautions, and they didn't believe it.
He did understand that he had to die.
Because he knew he couldn't control it.
Pretty intense, man, for some casual horror fare. Curse of the Werewolf, I thought this was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Well, after we say all that, like, it was nice to look at, but I did enjoy the movie.
I wouldn't say fun, but
I had a blast.
it was really well made and really good.
Yeah.
I really liked it. It had a good script. The acting was good. Everything was good.
Terrence Fisher, definitely probably one of the better directors in the Hammer horror library, no doubt about it. I think a lot of people would agree with that. Curse of the Werewolf from 1961. We're going to give it 1 through 5 each, combined for best out of 10. What do you give The Curse of the Werewolf by Terrence Fisher?
I'm at least a 4.25.
Whoa, you really like this one.
I really did. Even watching it, it just felt like a level up from the other horror movies of its time. The fact that it was so tragic caught me off guard, because usually in these movies there is at least a moment where you can be like, yeah, Wolfman, or something.
Yeah.
Didn't happen.
And we'll get into more Hammer horror tragedy too as we touch base on Christopher Lee's Frankenstein before the end of the month.
Also, though it was not part of the inception of this film, I also really particularly love all the sets. It's a beautiful movie.
I'm going to give it a 3.5. Combine that as
7.75.
Check it out. It just barely snuck in an A rating. The Curse of the Werewolf by Terrence Fisher, one of our higher rated Hammer horror features from 1961, is in between the films Strangers on a Train by Alfred Hitchcock and The Living End by Greg Araki. It's at least as good as those movies, if not better, and very different than those movies.
Very, very.
So check the show notes for links to other places to find us. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. Tell us about your favorite Oliver Reed, your favorite Hammer horror movies. We'd love to know more. We've been diving into Hammer horror the last couple of years, and we think they're a lot of fun, even the ones we don't think are very good. But Halloween Hump Fest continues, and what day? This is the first week, so tomorrow we will be discussing our first True Threat Thursday feature, which are horrors, scary movies based on supposedly real events. Fire in the Sky from 1993, Alien Abductions, all right? Ooh, a little bit of controversy there. We'll get into it tomorrow, and we will see you then.
Happy Halloween.